Hello, this is Sahar. I hope you enjoy listening to this podcast.
We're very excited to have Stewart Pearce with us today. Stewart was born in London, England, and having trained as an actor-teacher, worked in repertory theatre. In 1980, his practice as a voice coach began, teaching under the auspices of Cicely Berry at the Guildhall School of Music and Drama. In 1981, Stewart became the head of voice at the prestigious Webber Douglas Academy of Dramatic Arts until 1998. Since 1998, Stewart has been the resident master of voice at Shakespeare's Globe Theatre, and in 2001 he became the head of voice at the Drama Centre London. Stewart facilitates masterclass internationally, including the Chicago Shakespeare Theatre, and his corporate clients include ITN, McKinsey Co, and Merrill Lynch. Stewart works with many aspects of the mind and the body to connect the personality of voice with the breath of soul. As an alchemist, he enchants, encourages, and empowers, enabling movement towards the light. He describes his work as the vibrations of our voice echo the vibrations of our body, and in turn echo the sound of the natural world. Through resonance, we connect with the universe. It is now my pleasure to introduce Stewart to you. First of all, I would like to welcome you, Stewart, for being with us today, and thank you for taking time out to talk to us.
Thank you, Sahar. It's a pleasure to be here.
Now, you have a very long and successful career as a master of voice, the culmination of which, if you like, or the sum of your experience, has just come out in your first book, The Alchemy of Voice, which was released earlier this year. But first, let's go back to the beginning, to the point of origin, if you like. And I'd like to ask you, how is the origin of creation through sound?
Wow, what an extraordinary question to start off with. Huge question. Well, it's very intriguing that I find, for years and years and years I've been collating information for this book, The Alchemy of Voice. And I've discovered that every single major world religion, indeed every single indigenous tribe on this planet, believes that the whole of creation came about through sound.
Yes.
And so when we go into the great books of wisdom, we can see this recorded. And yet we also have it recorded in a sort of semi-version when we move into the world of science, because the world of science believes that the whole of creation came about through the Big Bang, not the Big Silence.
Yes.
So that's also rather intriguing. What actually took place that day, that moment, in that moment of fusion, none of us really knows, although our quantum physicists are really beginning to discover more about fusion.
That's right.
However, for us, I believe what actually took place was that there was a huge explosion of light. And as we know, light then can extrapolate or expand into colour, and from colour there is sound, and from sound thence there is matter.
Right.
So we're really talking in sound, we're really talking about one of the essential building blocks of the whole of our 3D form, our three-density form, our three-dimensional form.
Is that why you talk a lot on your CD, but also in your book, about finding our authentic sound or our true note?
This is right, yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So each of us have a unique note or a
That's
sound.
right, yes.
So how do we find our way back to it, to our original sound, so to speak?
This again is a wonderful question, an intriguing question to ask. If we go back into our ancient times, it is written that the majority of people had a way into the core of their sound through something known as persona, which is the root to our word personality, which we normally use when we're talking about the quality of somebody's being.
Right.
The intriguing thing is that the word persona means in Latin per through sona sound. So when we're talking about somebody's personality, we're actually talking about their sound, the way that they express themselves through the quality of their force, through sound. And so our ancient peoples believed in this and therefore practiced tuning into sound, whether it be speaking or singing, to really find out what the quality of their whole physical presence was in sound through a note, which was their note. We each have our own note.
So literally their vibe.
Their vibe, absolutely. And then when the world of science really took over at the beginning of the 17th century, we moved away from this, as it were, this natural form of being. And the information that we're now discussing was almost extracted. The information that we're discussing was actually taught in medieval university. It was ceased at that point during the Age of Enlightenment, and the information was taken from us.
That's really interesting.
The Alchemy of Voice is returning us to that information.
Now let's talk about alchemy. In basic terms, we can say that alchemy is about transmuting the old into new, or the basic elements into gold. This is what alchemists did. The Alchemy of Voice is an intriguing choice of title for your new book. And can you tell us a little bit about the kind of alchemy that you do with the voice?
Sure.
Or perhaps what the book is about.
So where do we go from here?
Why is it important to transmute our voice, or what are we doing when we
Okay.
work with our voice, perhaps?
So if we have a note within us that is actually right at the very core of our physical being, and when we sound this, we sound a quality of force which is enchanting, because we are enchanting beings, then the same would be true if we are unwell, we are disenchanted, and therefore if we are unwell we become disharmonic within, and we do not sound that note. We do not sound our note, that signature note of our being. So a typical example of this would be, in my experience, of people coming to me, which is the vibration of our modern order, which is the doing consciousness, the cerebral consciousness. And the vibration is rather like this, that people just live in their heads and use this very, very, very strident energy, which of course, the listener at the moment is probably recoiling from, is being repelled by, as opposed to really tuning into the energy of their note. And that's what I've just actually done with my sound. So the alchemy of voice is really allowing people an understanding of how they can transmute any dis-ease, any disharmony, any dysfunction in their being, whether it be physical, emotional, mental, or spiritual, by tuning into their note. That when we tune into the note, it's a passageway to revelation, and it shines somewhere within us any of the disharmonies, if they are not already rationally understood, if the emotional body is really upset.
So really one can describe your work as a healer.
Yes.
Because you're dealing with vibration, not just the sound or in fact, you talk about this, and you talk about several examples of how you've helped people through certain illnesses by working through their voice. Any examples that come to the mind, or for you personally, what has that meant?
Well,
to kind of be a doctor of voices.
Yeah, exactly. Because it's an oddity, isn't it, to talk about sound healer, because actually, does sound really need healing? No, but our note needs healing.
Right.
So it's tricky finding the most appropriate term. However, healing does mean moving back to wholeness. And so if we're fractured in some way and we're actually using a sound like this, then we're not necessarily whole, we're actually disintegrated. But as soon as we move back to using our note, we become fully integrated, which is really what the core of persona is all about. So if I give an example of somebody that came to see me several years ago, who was a very withdrawn being,
Right.
in the sense of being very introspective and very introvert, and was not actually able to function very easily in the world. And the reason why he came to me was that he realized that all his basic relationships, all his primary skills to create relationship was breaking down. And he actually talked rather like this. I mean, he had a jaw
Controlled
that was
sort
so
That's
tight
interesting, yes.
that his lips were like curtains drawn, and so the whole of the sound became really restricted. Now, this is just it in sound. The whole of his body was really restricted. And part of my job was to actually help him open up the whole of his voice, the whole of his mouth, so that he could actually feel the whole of his voice moving through that particular aperture, as it were. And as a result of that, then looking into the varying aspects of his life where he felt similarly withdrawn.
Right.
And as soon as we actually balance both, if you like, the physical body with the opening of his voice, and the emotional body in terms of opening the doorways or the curtains from being withdrawn, he became fully fulfilled and fully revealed in the world, and is now a really excellent voiceover artist.
Right. Because my experience with working with your CD and having a session with you, has made me more aware of sound as an element of healing, if you like, or as an element that we can gauge as to what is at dis-ease within us. What I mean is, most people think of healing as a passive experience. Go at the healer, lie down, or use the right colors, and so on. You've actually made us more aware of another element, which is the sound, because through the sound, what I understood from your work is that our body also vibrates, so we are actually able to center ourselves or ground ourselves through sound.
Yes.
What is your favorite sound?
My favorite sound, gosh, there are so many to choose. My
Or a
favorite,
note,
my
can we say
favorite, my
that?
favorite sound is the sound of silence.
That's interesting now.
However, that's a clever answer. So I'll give something more from my body, which is the sound of the heart. I believe if words arise out of the heart, they will enter the heart.
Is that the location of our true sound?
That is the location of our signature note,
Signature note.
coming right through the heart chakra, or indeed the solar plexus, through the center of our beings, as opposed to just from our heads.
Yes.
Sound will be the medicine of the future, there is no doubt. Whether it be to do with the simple function of being able to realign our physical, emotional, mental and spiritual bodies by tuning into our own note, or indeed using sound as a vibrational force to permeate into gross matter that may have accumulated in the body in the form of tumor. And in fact, tumor is being disintegrated at this time as we speak by ultrasonic vibration.
Right.
So this is a huge field
Of vibrational medicine that we're just
Absolutely.
becoming aware of.
Yes.
Now, if we may take you back to the beginning, you've had unique experiences as a child with sound. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, let me see, what can I tell you? As a child, I particularly being educated, I found it very, very difficult to read, and in fact couldn't read before the age of 10 or 11. There was a compensatory process that was taking place within the whole of my psychophysical process, and that was that I saw sound as colour. And so I would actually read the intention of somebody's sound, not by what they were saying, but by the colour that was exuding from their body
intriguing.
through their energy field.
You saw sound as color.
As colour, as light.
As
That was
light.
colour, yeah. And waves of sound became waves of light or colour emanating from their bodies. So, for example, if somebody was very angry, I would see waves of red oozing from their bodies, from their energy field around their body, and then I would hear the sound. But I would see the red first. If somebody was actually bathed in pink, then I knew that they were fully of the intention of love.
That's interesting.
And
That's
then they would
amazing.
speak love.
Yes. What does the future hold for Stewart Pearce?
More and more and more opportunities of speaking with Sahar like this.
Thank you. I know that you are remastering or reworking your CD, so I look forward to that.
Thank you.
And earlier on, off mic, as it were, we were talking about a new book as well.
Yes, which will be called Heart Sounds.
Heart Sounds. Stewart, one thing that life has taught you?
That love is the purest force in the center of the universe.
It's wonderful. I think I'll thank you and we'll close it. I'll look forward to speaking to you again
Sahar,
soon.
it's been such a pleasure.
It's a pleasure. Thank you.